The pace of AI development is truly remarkable, isn't it? It feels like we're really on the cusp of something huge.
It really does. Almost overwhelmingly fast sometimes.
Yeah, and with that speed, there's this growing tension,
Yeah.
This idea that AI is just too important, too powerful, maybe too centralized, too controlled.
Exactly. That concern about who actually holds the keys.
And that tension is precisely why we're doing this deep dive today. We're going into the world of decentralized AI, or DAI.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and pull back the curtain on the Bittensor blockchain specifically and look at a key project building there, Macrocosmos, especially their main subnet one, Apex.
Right. A lot of layers there.
Totally. So our mission really is to cut through that complexity, find the core insights, and just give you a shortcut to getting up to speed on this really cutting-edge area.
Yeah. Help make sense of it all.
Think of it as your fast track to understanding how AI and blockchain are starting to merge. There are some pretty surprising facts and hopefully a few aha moments along the way. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. What exactly is decentralized AI? Why is it such a big shift, potentially?
Well, it's kind of a fundamental rethink. Instead of these monolithic AI models controlled by, one big company.
Like the ones we mostly interact with now.
Exactly. DAI is about building AI systems that are distributed from the ground up, transparent, accessible.
Okay.
And this approach, it directly tackles some of the big worries people have with current AI, things like data privacy, like who actually owns the data that trains these things.
Right, your data.
Yeah, your data. And also making sure security is robust. Centralized systems, well, they often struggle with these points. DAI is sort of designed around solving them.
And it's not just like an academic idea, is it? This is playing out in a market that's already massive.
Oh, absolutely not just academic. The global AI market is projected to hit, what is it? Something like $733 billion by 2027.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a colossal opportunity for these decentralized alternatives to grab a piece of the pie.
Significant slice.
A very significant slice. And what's fascinating is how the DAI space itself is already starting to, well, mature and consolidate. Almost like a power law dynamic is kicking in.
You mean like a few big players emerging?
Precisely. We just saw that big merger, right? SingularityNet, Fetch.ai, Ocean Protocol. They formed the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, ASI.
Right, I saw that.
That kind of move really signals that, yeah, a few dominant platforms might be starting to pull ahead, attracting most of the value, the developers, the users. It's happening fast.
Okay, so in that context, with that consolidation happening, where does Bittensor fit? How does it position itself? It's often called a unique layer one blockchain.
Yeah, a layer one, meaning it's its own foundational network.
Right, and it's built specifically to host this decentralized network of AI models, a neural internet, they call it sometimes.
That's the term, yeah. And the real magic, or the core innovation, I think, within Bittensor is this incentive loop they've set up between miners and validators.
Okay, break that down. Miner validator loop.
So think of it like a constant competition that pushes improvement. You have miners, right? They host AI models, they train them, they offer up the intelligence, the computation.
Got it.
Then you have validators. Their job is to constantly evaluate how good those models are. Their quality, their usefulness.
Okay, judging the miner's work.
Exactly. And crucially, both get paid in TAO, which is the network's own token.
Ah, the TAO token.
Yeah. And their payment is based directly on their performance, how well they do their job, through this unique consensus mechanism they have. So it ends up being this kind of relentless, like a horse race for AI models.
A horse race for AI models. I like that.
Yeah, only the best performers really get rewarded significantly, which constantly pushes the whole network to get better and smarter.
So what does that mean for the TAO token itself? It sounds like it's absolutely critical to everything.
Oh, what's the lifeblood? Absolutely.
Right.
TAO isn't just, another crypto coin. It's got multiple jobs. It's used for staking, right? So people lock it up to help secure the network, earn more TAO. It's the money, the medium of exchange for any AI services used on the network.
Like paying for API calls or something.
Exactly. It also gives you governance rights, so TAO holders can vote on where the protocol goes next. And maybe most importantly, it's the incentive. It's what motivates the miners and validators.
Right.
So its value is inherently linked, deeply linked to how useful and how high quality the AI services on Bittensor actually are.
We definitely need to touch on the dynamic TAO upgrade, DTAO,
Yeah.
because that sounds like it really changed the game for how projects like Macrocosmos actually function within Bittensor.
Oh, absolutely. That was a huge shift.
It got rid of the central root network, right, and
Yeah.
gave each subnet its own token, its own market.
Exactly. Each subnet got its own unique alpha token and its own automated market maker, an AMM, like you see in DeFi.
And the implications of that were
Profound, really.
Yeah.
Strategically profound. It basically turned every single subnet into like a mini publicly traded startup. Think about it. The subnet owner, they're effectively the CEO. The miners, they're the workforce actually building the product or service.
And the TAO holders.
They become the VCs, the venture capitalists. They decide where to allocate their TAO, staking it into the subnets they believe in.
Ah, okay. So they're betting on the subnet's success.
Precisely. And this creates this incredibly powerful feedback loop. It's highly reflexive.
Reflexive how?
Well, if a subnet has a really compelling story, a good narrative,
Yeah.
and they execute well,
Deliver results.
deliver results, that attracts TAO stake from those VCs. More stake pushes up the price of the subnet's alpha token via the AMM.
Okay.
That higher valuation means the subnet earns a bigger slice of the daily TAO emissions.
Yeah.
The rewards the network distributes.
More funding.
Exactly. More capital, which means they can invest more development, attract better miners, improve their product, which then further validates their original story, attracting even more stake. It's a positive spiral.
Wow, that sounds potent.
It is. But, and this is crucial, it works just as powerfully in reverse. Any slip-ups, bad execution, a loss of faith in the narrative.
And the stake leaves, the price crashes, funding dries up.
Exactly. A negative feedback loop that can be just as rapid and intense.
High stakes. Definitely high stakes. Okay, so with that picture of Bittensor and DTIO in mind, let's zoom in. Where does Macrocosmos fit? What's their big vision?
Macrocosmos, they have a pretty bold mission statement. They want to create AI models that are transparent, accessible, and fair.
Okay.
And contribute to this future where AI is, open, transparent, and accessible for all. Lofty goals.
Lofty, but aligned with the DAI ethos.
Very much so. And their core strategy to get there is really interesting. They're building what they call a full-stack AI development pipeline.
Full stack, meaning
Vertically integrated. They control or aim to control multiple steps in the AI value chain, all within Bittensor. They're doing this by running 5 distinct but interconnected subnets.
5 subnets. Okay, they're not messing around.
Not at all. Each one tackles a different vital piece of the puzzle.
All right, give us the quick tour. How do these 5 pieces fit together?
Okay, so first you've got subnet 9, that's IOTA. It's focused on the really foundational stuff, pre-training large language models. And they've shown they could do it. They've built 700 million and even 7 billion parameter models already.
So building the base models.
Exactly. Then you need data, right? So subnet 13, Data Universe or Gravity, is basically an on-demand data scraping service. It pulls data from places like X, Reddit, crucial for getting high-quality training data.
Got it. Data pipeline.
Then subnet 37. This one's about fine-tuning those pre-trained models cheaply and decentrally, tailoring them for specific kinds of thinking or reasoning tasks.
Refining the models.
Right. And then kind of the culmination, the top layer is subnet 1, ATEX. That's the one that actually provides the intelligence to the outside world through chat interfaces, APIs. It's the user-facing part in many ways.
Apex, the flagship.
Okay.
And the 5th.
The 5th is subnet 25, mainframe. This one's a bit different. It's focused on DeSci, decentralized science. They're partnering with Rowan Scientific, looking at things like protein folding, molecular dynamics, stuff for drug discovery.
Wow, so from base models to drug discovery, that's ambitious.
Incredibly ambitious. But the genius, if they pull it off, is the synergy.
Synergy how?
By controlling that whole value chain, from scraping raw data to pre-training to fine-tuning to inference via Apex, and even specialized research, they create this really powerful interconnected system.
Harder for others to copy.
Very hard to replicate that entire stack. It positions Macrocosmos less as just an app developer and more like a foundational infrastructure provider on Bittensor. Sort of like a decentralized AWS, but specifically for the AI economy being built there.
A decentralized AWS for AI on Bittensor. That's a powerful framing. Okay, who's driving this? Who's the team behind Macrocosmos?
The leadership team looks solid. You've got Will Squires as CEO, Stefan Cruz as CTO, Michael Bunting as CFO, and Elena Nesterova heading up delivery. And they've apparently built out a pretty significant team, over 30 people globally, including, I think, 6 PhDs.
Impressive credentials.
Yeah, but the real standout, the sort of unique edge they seem to have, is their CTO, Stefan Cruz.
What's his story?
His story is fascinating. He was the former CTO of the Open Tensor Foundation.
The foundation behind Bittensor itself.
The very same. And not only that, he was apparently the original architect of the codebase for Subnet 1, for Apex.
Wow. Okay, that's insider knowledge doesn't quite cover it.
Right. It gives him this unparalleled, deep understanding of how the Bittensor protocol actually works, the technical details, the incentive games, even reportedly the sort of internal political landscape of the network.
He knows where the levers are.
Exactly. And he brings this battle-hardened perspective, as one report put it, on just how brutal and competitive it is to build a successful subnet. That kind of deep, specific knowledge significantly de-risks their execution, you'd think.
You can see why. It's no surprise someone like Crucible Labs, a major validator, called them a powerhouse.
Yeah, that context makes sense.
Okay, let's zoom in even further now onto Subnet 1 itself, Apex. It's described as the crucible of technical work, the flagship subnet for natural language and inference. And its goal is explicit. Beat the proprietary models. How does it actually work? What's the tech?
Right. Apex is where a lot of the core intelligence work happens. Its goal is essentially to take raw intelligence and make it into something quantifiable, something tradable, like a digital commodity.
How does it do that?
It uses some pretty advanced techniques, things like response ensembling, basically combining outputs from multiple models, get a better, more robust answer,
Okay.
and agentic workflows, where an AI can break down a complex task into smaller steps and tackle them sequentially, almost like a little team of specialized AI agents working together.
Getting smarter answers.
Exactly.
Okay.
And crucially, Apex tries to solve a common problem where AI models just learn to give the answers the test expects. They overfit to the prompts. Apex integrates more human-like, varied queries into its testing process to combat that.
Making it more genuinely useful.
Hopefully, yeah. And it really is that critical final layer, the inference engine, for the whole macrocosmos vertical stack we talked about.
So what can people actually do with Apex? What are the products for users or developers?
Okay, so for end users, the main thing is Apex Chat. And interestingly, they offer 5 different versions or modes of the chat.
5. Like what?
Yeah, like a basic one, a combined model, one that's web-enhanced so it can access current info, a deep researcher mode, and even a specialized reasoning mode, so users can pick the type of intelligence they need.
Different tools for different jobs?
Pretty much.
Mm.
And there's also something called Mission Commander. It's described as an agentic chatbot that's hooked into their Subnet 13, the Gravity data scraper.
So it helps you use the data scraping.
Exactly. It helps users figure out how to ask for the right data effectively.
Okay, that's the user side. What about developers?
For devs, there's the Apex API, naturally, for plugging Apex intelligence into other applications programmatically.
Standard API access.
Right. And also something called the Macrocosmos Connect Protocol, or MCP. Sounds interesting. It lets developers embed Apex capabilities directly into tools they already use, like Claude for desktop or the Cursor Code editor.
Oh, bringing Apex into their workflow.
Yeah, making it easier to integrate without starting from scratch.
And does Apex connect with other projects on Bittensor? Is it being used as a piece of infrastructure itself?
Yes, it seems so. It's already acting as a foundational layer for others in the ecosystem.
Like who?
Well, one example mentioned is Squad.ai. That's an agent platform built by Rayon Labs on their subnet SN64, Shoots.
Okay.
Apparently, Apex provides the core reasoning power for the agents running on Squad.ai, so it demonstrates Apex's value proposition, being a reliable, cost-effective intelligence layer that other subnets can actually build on top of.
So it's becoming part of the plumbing for other apps.
That seems to be the goal, yeah. Expanding its utility across the network.
Okay, let's talk money. How does the SN1 token, the Apex token, actually work? What's the tokenomics here?
Right, the SN1 token. It's the unique alpha token specifically for Subnet 1. Its price isn't arbitrary. It's determined by the balance of TAO tokens versus SN1 tokens held in its own dedicated AMM liquidity pool.
Like a Uniswap pool, basically.
Exactly like that, based on the ratio in that pool. And right now, the specific numbers, let's see, the price is around $8.69 per SN1 token.
Okay.
That gives the whole Subnet 1 a total market capitalization of about $10.6 million.
That means $6 million.
And the 24-hour trading volume was around $409,000. So decent activity.
And how are the rewards distributed, the TAO emissions that the subnet earns?
It follows the standard Bittensor split for most subnets, which is
Yeah.
404, 100, and 118,
Hmm.
meaning 41% of the TAO earned by the subnet goes to the miners providing the intelligence,
Yeah.
another 41% goes to the validators, and importantly, the TAO holders who stake their TAO with those validators.
Okay, rewarding the capital providers.
Exactly. And the remaining 18%, that goes directly to Macrocosmos as the owner and operator of Subnet 1.
Ah, so that 18% is effectively their revenue.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's their direct income stream from running Apex. So their financial success is explicitly tied week by week, day by day, to how well Apex performs in that competitive Bittensor environment.
Got it. Direct incentive alignment. Okay, let's pull back again. Big picture. How does Macrocosmos, and specifically Apex with its $10.06 market cap, compare to the really big players out there, like the ASI Alliance, Fetch.ai, SingularityNet, Ocean? Fetch alone is what, $1.5 billion market cap? That comparison seems off.
You're absolutely right to question that direct comparison. It is misleading. It's not apples to apples.
Or not.
Because SN1 is an application layer token.
Yeah.
It represents value within the Bittensor ecosystem.
Uh.
FET, the Fetch.ai token, is a layer 1 protocol token. It represents the value of the entire underlying Fetch.ai network itself.
Ah, different layers of the stack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more meaningful comparison, if you're looking at the platform level, is between the L1 ecosystems. So Bittensor, with its TAO token currently around a $2.7 billion market cap, versus the combined ASI Alliance, where FET is the largest component at maybe $1.5 billion or so.
Okay, so Bittensor as an ecosystem is actually larger than Fetch.ai right now.
Correct. So thinking about an investment in SN1 isn't really like buying FET. It's more like making a leveraged bet on Bittensor itself winning that broader L1 war for decentralized AI. If Bittensor thrives, well-run applications within it, like potentially Apex, could do very well.
A leveraged bet on the ecosystem's success. Okay, that makes more sense. Now, what about competition inside Bittensor? Because we know it's fierce. How does Apex stack up against other really successful subnets we've seen? You mentioned Rayon Labs.
Yeah, Rayon Labs has had some huge successes. Their Subnet 64 shoots apparently hit a peak market cap over $100 million at one point.
Wow, compared to Apex's $10.6 million now.
Exactly. And their Subnet 56 Gradients is currently sitting around $36.6 million market cap, still significantly higher than Apex.
So that raises a big question, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Why is Apex's market cap around $10.6 million, so much lower than these other top performers? Especially given that Apex is Subnet 1, the original flagship, and the Macrocosmos team has this incredible, arguably unparalleled expertise with Stefan Cruz.
Right. What gives?
Well, that discrepancy implies one of two things, really. Either the market is just significantly underappreciating Apex and its potential right now.
Missing the story or the value.
Yeah. Or the market is actually accurately pricing in some real, tangible risks or shortcomings that maybe aren't immediately obvious from the outside.
Okay, let's try and crystallize this using a SWOT analysis. Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, threats for Macrocosmos and Apex.
Good idea.
Okay, strengths. We've hammered this, but it's huge. That world-class team, especially Stefan Cruz's unique insider knowledge from OpenTensor and building SN1.
Definitely a major strength.
Also, their whole vertically integrated full stack strategy, that seems really powerful and hard to copy. And just being the first mover, the incumbent on the flagship Subnet 1.
Agreed. Strong foundation there.
Okay, weaknesses. This one seems pretty significant based on reports. Poor miner documentation.
Yeah, that's come up repeatedly.
It's being called a critical operational failure. Setup guides are hard to find, maybe even contradictory. That directly undercuts their mission of being open and accessible, right? If miners can't easily join.
Absolutely. It creates a really high barrier to entry, which is the opposite of what you want in a decentralized network. And related to that, their community, while growing, seems relatively small or less developed compared to some other major subnet projects.
Okay, operational friction and community size. Now, opportunities.
The big one is leveraging that DTO reflexivity we talked about. If they get the narrative and execution right, that positive feedback loop could be explosive.
Right, turning $10 into $100 like Schutz did.
Potentially. There's also the opportunity to really become that AWS of Bittensor, the go-to infrastructure for AI services, and just tapping into the broader API economy as more businesses look for decentralized AI solutions.
Lots of upside potential. Okay, finally, threats.
Competition is obviously huge, both from other subnets inside Bittensor, which is cutthroat.
Like Rayon Labs.
Yeah. And from external players, like the ASI Alliance or even centralized AI providers, there's always the risk inherent in the Bittensor protocol itself. Systemic risk, bugs, major changes.
Protocol risk.
And then looming over everything in crypto and AI is the threat of regulation. Regulatory scrutiny could change the landscape dramatically.
Okay, that's a good summary. Can you expand a bit on that weakness, the miner documentation? What are the real practical effects?
Yeah, it's more than just an annoyance. For a miner, their whole purpose is to provide high-quality responses or computations to earn those TAO rewards. If the instructions on how to set up their systems, how to format responses, how to stay competitive are unclear, outdated, or hard to find, it makes it incredibly difficult for new people to join and contribute effectively.
So it keeps the network smaller, more centralized, perhaps.
It can inadvertently lead to that, yes. Power concentrates among the few who can figure it out or were early. And there's another layer to this, the legal and compliance side.
How so?
Especially for tasks like web scraping, which Subnet 13 does, miners run into data privacy regulations. Think GDPR in Europe. Macrocosmos' official stance is that miners are solely responsible for their own legal compliance.
So Macrocosmos doesn't help them navigate that?
Apparently not explicitly. That's another significant kind of hidden barrier. It favors larger, more sophisticated mining operations that can handle that legal overhead, potentially further centralizing the mining power. It's a tricky operational reality.
That's a really important point. Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the final verdict? What's the big takeaway for someone trying to understand Macrocosmos and the SN1 token?
Well, I think Macrocosmos offers a really compelling but definitely complex investment case. You've got these exceptional strengths on one side, that amazing team, the smart full-stack strategy.
The potential.
Huge potential. But on the other side, you have these clear, identifiable risks and weaknesses, especially around operational execution, like the documentation issue and the sheer intensity of the competition.
So SN1 isn't like buying Bitcoin or Ethereum?
No, definitely not. It's not a blue-chip DAI play, not yet anyway. I think its current price, that $10.06 market cap, probably reflects its status as a high-risk, high-potential venture capital style bet.
A VC bet, okay.
Yeah. You're essentially betting on two things. One, that this really talented insider team at Macrocosmos can actually execute on their very ambitious plan and fix those operational shortcomings.
Get the documentation right, build the community.
Exactly. And two, you're betting that the entire Bittensor ecosystem itself manages to navigate the competition and protocol risks and emerges as a long-term winner in the whole decentralized AI space. It's a leveraged bet on both the team and the platform.
That makes sense. So given all that, thinking more broadly, what does this whole deep dive imply for the future of DAI? What does a project like Macrocosmos tell us?
It highlights a critical tension, I think. How do these foundational projects, the ones building the core infrastructure, how do they balance undeniable technical brilliance, like Macrocosmos clearly has,
Right, the deep tech expertise.
with the need for consistent, maybe less glamorous operational excellence? Things like great documentation, strong community support, smooth onboarding for contributors like miners. In this kind of hyper-competitive, highly reflexive environment that Bittensor creates, can technical genius alone win? Or is that operational and community piece just as critical for long-term success and true decentralization?
That's a really provocative thought to end on.
And maybe a question for you, the listener, as you evaluate these kinds of emerging technologies. How do you weigh that? How do you balance an extraordinary team and a brilliant strategic vision against very real, visible operational gaps? It forces you to think about not just what a project can technically build, but how effectively it engages, supports, and empowers the very community that's supposed to be the heart of its decentralization and growth.
A lot to think about there. Definitely a space to keep watching closely.